Hello, family. I'm Robert, and I'm a real alcoholic. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Atlanta Step Up Society Big Book Study. The name of this study is Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. Let's open with a moment of silence, followed by the Serenity Prayer. Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. You know, I would like to, every time I do a book study, I always have something to say about the disease of addiction. But first I want to tell you about like a testimony. This week I got a email from a lady in Mississippi who been following our study on YouTube. I told y'all it's on YouTube. It's on the Atlanta Step Up Society website. And we're located at 733 Monroe Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, 30308. She said that she loved it and enjoyed it so much, she wants to get the series, the 1, 2, and 3, and then send her a weekly CD. So what I'm saying is, it's expanding. She's saying that she's been taking it to her group in Mississippi, and they're watching it, the DVD, and listening to the CD. So I'm honored. You know what I'm trying to say? To me, it's like God is moving. The best way to recover, and the way I recover, is straight out of the book, real simple, paragraph by paragraph. Because they did say, they put it in the program in the book in detail so they don't leave nothing out. Because they knew a drunk like me or an addict like me, if they left a little hole like that, I'm going to wiggle through it and go get drunk. So they did it 100% by the book, and that's how we do it in here. And honestly, if you do it like this, you got it. That makes sense. You're going to get it. You will get it. You have to put yourself in the book. Like I put my story in the book, you got to put yourself in the book. Because like we've been studying for the last 2 weeks on the mental twist. All right? The peculiar mental twist. I think right now, a lot of people who've been listening to these CDs, because you look in here, you might see some empty seats. But I can guarantee you, if I had to, on a weekly basis, bring everybody in who were getting the CDs and listen to the CD, you couldn't even get in this building tonight. That makes sense? A lot of people are doing this thing at home. And I'm honored by that. That makes sense? And it's not me. It's y'all too. If you ever took like a speech class, public speaking, one-on-one, first thing they teach you is how the formal speaking engagement go, and then an informal speaking engagement. Ours is a combination of the both. We interact with each other. It's like the speaker go to the listener, then the listener give back to the speaker. That makes sense? And in between is like an interference, right? And that's kind of like a buffer. So when I'm doing a class and I hear y'all or listen to y'all or get your feedback, I can carry that to the next loop. You know what I'm trying to say? So I know for a fact, I think everybody's grabbing on to this mental twist. This thinking that precedes a relapse. This thinking that we had that went along with everything. If I had like 20 or 30 things going on that centered around drinking, and I'm using 20 and 30 as a small number, I could easily say I had 100 things that centered around drinking. That makes sense? Whether it was going to the mailbox, going to the grocery store, you can forget about cashing a check. I have never cashed a check without alcohol. That makes sense? I have never cashed a check. It wasn't no direct deposit when I was, back in the day. You had to cash that paper check. And I never cashed a check without buying alcohol. That meant alcohol had to be involved. That makes sense? I never did a lot of things without alcohol. So if you add all that up, you know, those little mental twists that went around the events that I was doing, I was doomed. I was an alcoholic. Everything was centered around alcohol and drugs in one way or another. That makes sense? With that, so our main problem, that's what we headed tonight, is in our mind. Our main problem is in our mind, this mental obsession. You don't have to worry about the physical allergy, the craving, and the phenomenal craving or the formula about craving. You don't have to worry about none of that if you don't put it in. That's academic. So we have to train our minds. Train our mind. Just like if you go to the gym and you want to work out and you train your muscles to get stronger and develop your muscles and develop six packs and nice quads, you have to train those muscles. We have to train our minds to listen, to receive, so we can hear that obsession when it comes to us. Even Jim said last week in our study, we're going to go back over tonight, when he had the thought that he could take an ounce of whiskey and mix it with milk. He thought about that. It wasn't going to do him that much damage. He said he vaguely sensed that this wasn't too smart. He was already trained because we had already told him about this stuff. He kind of knew that this wasn't going to be too smart. Then he come around and say, I tried the experiment anyway. He wanted to test it. That makes sense? So with that in mind, I can honestly tell you, myself, I have been tested, especially in the beginning of recovery. I used to be walking down the street and a thought would come to my mind, sure it'd be nice to have a cool beer on a hot day like today. By being trained by your folks and y'all telling me that I'm going to get that thought, I was able to tell that thought, no, obsession, you go have a cold beer on this cool day or sunny day. I'm going right back to St. Jude's. I was able to train myself. I would talk to myself. I would say, get up out of there. I'm not drinking. I'll be walking down the street. You know, they say if you talk to yourself, you crazy, then I was going to be crazy. Because I did not care who was looking at me, and I'm trying to save my life because they wasn't going to save it for me. That's right. I'm responsible for my life. So I start, talking to myself, catching it. Then I tell you when it really left. I said, obsession, you really wasting your time with me. I got you. Go jump in somebody else's head. They left me alone. I remember one time a good friend of mine, he in here now. We were sitting on about 12 years. You know, I'm saying 12 or 14 years ago who it was. 15 years ago. Sitting out there in my car, I had some antibiotics in the glove compartment. Me and him are in the car talking. I reached to the glove compartment to get something. The bottle of antibiotic rolled to the front. You know how a glove compartment is. It rolled to the front. He said, boy, what kind of drugs is that? I said, that's antibiotic. But I knew what he was thinking because of the way we think. That makes sense? He didn't ask me what kind of antibiotics you got or what kind of prescription the doctor gave you. First thing come out of my mind, what kind of drug you got, what kind of dope is that? All right? So we got that kind of thinking. And I told y'all this is not a program about quitting. It's a program about allowing a power that's greater than us to remove it. That's in the steps. To remove the obsession. All right? We're going to start tonight on page 35. This is a good lesson. We're going to go back over Jim. We're going to break it down again. And then we're going to proceed up to Fred. Can't do Fred tonight because Fred is a long one. Jim is a kind of a short story. Fred is longer and got a lot more detail into it. So that'll be next week. That makes sense? And after that, we're going into We Agnostics, which is a powerful, powerful chapter. One of these life-changing chapters. We're talking about stuff we kind of know. We're going to go into the unknown. How's that? All right. Page 35. The top of page 35. What sort of thinking dominates? And before he start reading, so I'm gonna read something. Well, I don't have to read it. Obviously, this is the main. Our mind is the main problem in our mind. Our thinking. Our problem is in our mind. We've been talking so much about the body, but now we're going toward the mind. Because the disease of addiction is physical and mental. You can train your mind to catch the thought, but you also got to know that if you did put it in, what the body gonna do. That makes sense? You cannot lead the body out of this formula. Because if you lead the body out of this formula and the craving and the allergy, you might think you can drink. And you can't. That makes sense? So let's go ahead and where it said, what sort of thinking dominates an alcoholic?
What sort of thinking dominates an alcoholic who repeats time after time the desperate experiment of the first drink? Friends who have reasoned with him after a spree which has brought him to the point of divorce or bankruptcy are mystified when he walks directly into a saloon. Why does he? Of what is he thinking? Our first example is a friend we shall call Jim. This man has a charming wife and family. He inherited a lucrative automobile agency. He has a commendable worldwide record. He is a good salesman. Everybody likes him. He is an intelligent man, normal so far as we can see, except for a nervous disposition. He did no drinking until he was 35. In a few years, he became so violent when intoxicated that he had to be committed. On leaving the asylum, he came into contact with us. We told him what we knew of alcoholism and the answer we had found. He made a beginning. His family was reassembled, and he began to work as a salesman for the business he had lost through drinking. All went well for a time, but he failed to enlarge his spiritual life. To his consternation, he found himself drunk half a dozen times in rapid succession. On each of these occasions, we worked with him, reviewing carefully what had happened. He agreed he was a real alcoholic and in serious condition. He knew he faced another trip to the asylum if he kept on. Moreover, he would lose his family for whom he had a deep affection. Yet he got drunk again. We asked him to tell us exactly how it happened. This is his story. I came to work on Tuesday morning. I remember I felt irritated that I had to be a salesman for a concern I once owned. I had a few words with the boss, but nothing serious. Then I decided to drive into the country and see one of my prospects for a car. On the way, I felt hungry, so I stopped at a roadside place where they have a bar. I had no intention of drinking. I just thought I would get a sandwich. I also had the notion that I might find a customer for a car at this place, which was familiar, for I had been going to it for years. I had eaten there many times during the months I was sober. I sat down at a table and ordered a sandwich and a glass of milk. Still no thought of drinking. I ordered another sandwich and decided to have another glass of milk. Suddenly the thought crossed my mind that if I were to put an ounce of whiskey in my milk, it couldn't hurt me on a full stomach. I ordered a whiskey and poured it into the milk. I vaguely sensed I was not being any too smart, but felt reassured as the experiment went so well that I ordered another whiskey and poured it into more milk. That didn't seem to bother me, so I tried another. Thus started one more journey to the asylum for Jim. Here was the threat of commitment, the loss of family, to say nothing of that intense mental and physical suffering which drinking always caused him. He had much knowledge about himself as an alcoholic, yet all reasons for not drinking were easily pushed aside in favor of the foolish ideal that he could take whiskey, if only he mixed it with milk. Whatever the precise definition of the word may be, we call this plain insanity. How can such a lack of proportion of the ability to think straight be called anything else?
All right, I want to thank you for reading that. That was long, boy. I'm used to these paragraph by paragraph. I'm like, what am I gonna do for the next 5 minutes? You know what I was thinking? I was like, when he was reading that, I mean, this is not in the thing, but I kind of like saw like big screams. You know what I'm trying to say? I think we need to have maybe a group conscious meeting sometime. Because I got some ideals. But ideals alone ain't good. That makes sense? Get some people who want to get involved or like start a movement or something. And let's see where we can go. That makes sense? All right. So I'm going to go back up to the top because our main problem is still in our mind. I talk so much, I'm saying that because I talk so much about the physical part, a lot of people thought the main problem was in the body. But everywhere I go, I'm going to make it main. It's going to be the main problem. That makes sense? All right, then we're going to go into the main solutions. All right, what sort of thinking dominates? That means control, takes over. You know what I'm trying to say? And as alcoholics, we need to pay particular attention to that word dominate, because throughout our entire life, mostly everything dominated us. That makes sense? From feelings, emotions, other people, everything dominated us. You can give them a book. So it's some up in my office on that shelf. So pay close attention and let that word stick with you, dominating, all right? So it said, what sort of thinking dominates an alcoholic who repeats time after time the desperate experiment of the first drink? So we got to find out what's in our minds, what's in our heads that is always present, that controls me, you know, like I'm in jail or I'm in bondage, that commands me to do something I don't want to do. Because I know the consequences of doing what I'm doing. I don't want to do it, but there's some thoughts that dominate my mind and take control of it. That makes sense? So it says that friends who have reasoned with him after a spree, which has brought him to the point of divorce or bankruptcy, are mystified when he walks directly into a bar. Why does he? Of what is he thinking? When people come to you and say, look, you done lost everything you got from drinking and drugging, your whole educational career. I seen people lose, everything. The list is infinite. Pro athletes, millionaires, CEO of companies, army commanders, generals. The list, I'm talking about high up. What sort of thinking would take somebody whose bonuses is $2 million a year to lose it? I'm not even talking about paycheck. Their bonuses. What sort of thinking would dominate that person to make him give it up for a $5 bottle of gin? What sort of thinking? What sort of thinking dominates a person whose mother is 80 years old and they go into their mother's house and steal the TV that she went to the thrift store and paid $5.99 for? What sort of thinking is going on? It sure ain't one that coming from him, from his heart. I can tell you that one. It ain't pure. All right, we're going to talk about Jim. You know, why does he do that? For what? Our first example is a friend we should call Jim. This man has a charming wife and family. He inherited a lucrative automobile agency. This company was passed down to him. Someone evidently died, gave him, or they didn't have to die, I guess, but they transferred ownership to him of an automobile agency. You know, sometimes I go to meetings down here, and I know it's a few people, Jet, I know you've been, down here, and we be talking about problems like relationships and jobs. But you go up north, I'll be sitting in a meeting, they be talking about, well, you know, somebody went on my lot today and stole 3 cars. A Mercedes this one, a Mercedes that one, a Mercedes that one. That be their problem. But at the end of the day, They alcoholic just like me. That makes sense? It said that he had a commendable World War record. He is a good salesman. Everybody likes him. He is an intelligent man, normal so far as we can see, except for that nervous disposition. Something got him jittery around other people. That makes sense? I know that in the morning when I come in here, I've been around recovery so long, when people attitudes change, I know what time it is. You come to work and they nervous, shaking. What you shaking for? You've been pushing that hand truck for 6 months. Why you shaking now? The first thing come to my mind, Ken, go get the urine cup. I already know. That nervous disposition. That's right. He did no drinking till he was 35. In a few years, he became so violent. Remember I told y'all circle that word? When intoxicated, that he had to be committed. So when he did start drinking, he became violent. He became angry. He got the emotion of anger coming out of him. That makes sense? On leaving the asylum or treatment, he came into contact with us, people like us, 12-steppers, the AA program. After this guy got out of treatment, he came to us. He came to our meetings. He came in here. All right? We told him what we knew of alcoholism and the answer we had found. We told him about the disease of addiction. We told him about he have a physical allergy. Remember I went over there on the board? We told him that if he takes any drugs in his body, it's going to trigger his allergy. He's allergic to alcohol. His body, the cells in his body are going to want more and more and more of it until it becomes so large. The allergy becomes so large that it's more powerful than your mental control. Your mind can't stop you from geeking. That's how big it becomes. Your body takes over. We told him that. We told him that he's going to have these mental twists, this obsession that's going to lie to him. It's going to tell him it's all right to take one drink. It won't hurt you. Everything will be all right. The worst thing a man or a woman can do is to tell themselves a lie, believe the lie, and then act on it. And then blame somebody else. That's what we do. We're going to blame everybody else. We told him what we knew of alcoholism and the answer we had found, the 12 steps. I'm just going to leave it right there. He made a good beginning. Remember I told you we're going to go, as we go deeper and deeper into the steps, they're going to unfold for you. They're on different pages and different sections of the book. As we study the book, the steps will come alive in you. It makes no sense to do a book study and have the steps in the book on the pages. That's no good. We're going to put the steps in you. So you can transfer it, download it, live a clean and sober life, and transfer it to another person and put them in them. If you just going to have it in the book, let's take our books and throw them in the dumpster. That's all they're going to be useful for. That's not transferring spirituality. I know I carried another book for 20 years, didn't get nowhere. It wasn't put in me. That makes sense? He made a good beginning. Steps 1, 2, and 3. That's what he did. Those are the beginning steps. His family was reassembled, and he began to work as a salesman for a business he had lost through drinking. Now, if that don't create no anger, I don't know what will. I call step 1, 2, and 3, or they're the beginning steps, but there's some blanket blessings that I see through. This is just me. It's not written down anywhere. But 20 years of being on the front line, you do see something. That makes sense? I call it blanket blessings. And what I mean by that, if you stay long enough, stay clean and sober long enough, everybody gonna get a car or an automobile if you desire to have it. Julie, everybody gonna get a girlfriend or a boyfriend if that's what you want. Everybody get that. And everybody gonna get a place to stay. Apartment, house, or something like that. And everybody get a job. I call that blanket. You know what I'm trying to say? 2 years clean, everybody get that. That's not good enough. That's a blanket blessing. If you stop there, then you just stop there, but that ain't it. It's way bigger than that. That makes sense? You don't know the beauty of being a 12-stepper, having a sponsee. I use Derek as an example. I'm not breaking his anonymity. I'm just using one of my sponsees that do this. This is what he do. He teach this. I know what it's like to put the 12 steps in one, help them, sit down and teach them, or let them go through a 4th and a 5th step. You know what I'm trying to say? 6, 7, and an 8th step, and let them go back into the world and make amends. And then do a 10th and 11th step and learn how to pray and meditate the correct way to see from the end. Stop seeing from the beginning and begging and become what you want to become in life. I saw Derek pushing the lawnmower. All I want is a lawnmower, a lawnmower, lawnmower. He did the 12 steps, opened up a treatment center, forgot about the lawnmower, and started helping and working with other people. He didn't stop at the blanket blessing. That makes sense? Yeah. Yeah. He put the 12 steps in him and started 12 stepping other people, and his life expanded. Well, I read, it even said in Genesis that God is expansion. That's just the eye-opener, that's all. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Says right here, he made a good beginning. He got the blanket. Family was reassembled. He began to work as a salesman for a business he had lost through drinking. All went well for a time, but he failed to enlarge his spiritual life. That's what I'm talking about. He failed to continue to work with himself, on himself, to do a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th step, 10 and 11 and 12 and go back and work with other people. He failed to do that. To his amazement, consternation, he found himself drunk 6 times in a row. On each of these occasions, we worked with him, reviewing carefully what had happened. So my thing is that every time someone relapses, it's your duty to get back with them and find out what was going on. Why did you do that? What you did not understand. You know what I'm trying to say? What kind of thinking went through your head when you were going to grandma's house? I know the story, I just don't want to say it tonight. But it's real simple for men. All right? He agreed he was a real alcoholic and in a serious condition. He knew he faced another trip to the asylum if he kept on. Moreover, he would lose his family, whom he had a deep affection. Seemed like he wanted to get clean for that family. He had just been reassembled for drinking. Then he go back to drinking. Now he want to get clean to bring them back into his life or he lose them forever. He got drunk again. We asked him to tell exactly what had happened. This is his story. I came to work on Tuesday. I remember I felt irritated or resentful that I had to be a salesman for a concern I once owned. I know that would piss me off too. I had a few words with the boss, nothing serious. I decided to drive into the country to see one of my prospects for a car. On the way, I felt hungry, so I stopped at a roadside place where they have a bar. Remember I told y'all about going back to places, people, places, and things, and situations. Put that in there too. Situations. I had no intention of drinking, probably didn't. I just thought I would get a sandwich, so I had the notion that I might find a customer for a car at this place, which was familiar for I had been going to it for years. I had eaten there many times during the months I was sober. I sat down at a table and ordered a sandwich and a glass of milk. Still no thought of drinking. I ordered another sandwich and decided to have another glass of milk. These are like normal thinking. Remember I told you we have this normal list of things that in our mind before we drink. Every time I got a paycheck, I wanted to pay my bills, get my kids something, change some clothes, or get a haircut, or I had this normal thinking going in my mind what everybody have. To him, this is normal thinking, because 2 times he said he had no intention of drinking whatsoever. He wasn't thinking about drinking. The obsession comes. Certainly the thought crossed my mind, if I were to put an ounce of whiskey in the milk, it wouldn't hurt me on a full stomach. All right, let's think about that. He told himself a lie. That's if I would put the whiskey in the milk, it wouldn't hurt me. He knew better than that. He had already knew about the disease of addiction, right? Because he did a step 1. I ordered the whiskey and poured it into the milk. When he was pouring it in there, the clean thought come to his mind. We all get that thought, that hunch, that right one. I vaguely sensed it was not being any too smart, but felt reassured that I was taking the whiskey on a full milk. He said, correction. But felt reassured that I was taking the whiskey on a full stomach. Since his stomach was full, the lie expanded. I can go ahead and since I got a full stomach, it ain't gonna get to my body. It ain't gonna mess with this allergy. The experiment went so well, probably didn't hit him that first one. I ordered another and poured it into more milk. That didn't seem to bother me, so I tried another. Thus started the allergy triggered. Right? That craving came in. Thus started one more journey to the asylum for Jim. Here was the threat of commitment, the loss of family and position, to say nothing of that intense mental and physical suffering which drinking always caused him. He didn't even think about the consequences of how sick he was going to get for using. We're going to go into this deep in a minute. So I'm not even going to play around right here in this sentence. He had much knowledge about himself as an alcoholic. He knew about the disease of addiction. He knew it well, right? About himself. Not just talking about telling other folk. He knew what it would do to himself. That's a bad position to be in. To know about it and still have a belly full of beer, you probably better off if you didn't know. That makes sense? Yet all reasons for not drinking were easily pushed aside in favor of the foolish ideal, that's that obsession, that one little thought, that he could take whiskey only if he mixed it with milk. Instead of drinking it straight, if I put it with milk, I'm going to be all right. That's the lie. That's the big lie, the obsession. And he believed it, and he acted on it. Then you get the consequences of it. Whatever the precise definition of the word may be, we call this plain insanity. Sane mean whole. Insane, I ain't saying you crazy. Insane mean instead of having a whole piece of pie, you got a couple slices missing. I was thinking about people, you know, listen to this, young man. I think about people, man, they go to jail. They come out. Do the same thing. They got them in jail in the same place. In the same place. They won't catch me this time. That's plain and say. There's a slice missing in that pie. Something wrong with that picture. But people do it every day. Yeah. People do this every day. Yeah. You know? I ain't gonna say that. I ain't gonna say it. How can such a lack of proportion of the ability to think straight be called anything else? I was thinking about, people say that I'm tough. Robert this and Robert that. I hear them talking about me. But I'm used to that. Everywhere I ever been in my life, I hear people talking about me. So it just go with the turf. You know what I'm trying to say? So I hear them talk about me. Then they relapse. Or they leave. Then I find out they relapse. A year passed. They been in the street. And they come right back to the man that they were talking about. Can I get back in? I said, that's just plain insanity. If I talk about Jet, and I didn't want to be in his treatment center, if I leave Jet, I ain't going back to Jet. I go somewhere else. But that's just plain insane. You know, when I left St. Jude, there's a counselor up there, y'all. He kind of familiar. Y'all know him. I swear to God, I was never going to go back and see him. It would be plain insane for me to leave that treatment, relapse, and go back to that guy and say, let me back in. I know what he going to do. He going to dog you again. He was dogging me when I was there. That would be plain insane. People do it every day. That would kept me clean. I didn't want to see that man no more. That one guy I didn't want to never go back to. You know what I'm saying? You may think, we right there, right? All right, let's keep going, because this is a good one right here. I love this paragraph. Go ahead and read it.
You may think this an extreme case. To us, it is not far-fetched, for this kind of thinking has been characteristic of every single one of us. We have sometimes reflected more than Jim did upon the consequences, but there was always a curious mental phenomenon that paralleled with our sound reasoning. There inevitably ran some insane, trivial excuse for taking the first drink. Our sound reasoning failed to hold us in check. The insane idea won out. Next day, we could ask ourselves, in all earnestness and sincerity, how it could have happened.
All right, let's do this. All right, parallel, you got two lines running in the same direction, right? Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, right.
It'll be like P Street and Spring Street, right? Running the same way. That's a parallel. All right. In the rooms, when we sometimes reflect upon the consequences, what we call that? They say, huh?
Playing the tape.
Playing the tape back, right? Just play the tape back. I hear that all the time. Don't y'all hear it? Yeah. But is that the definition of playing the tape back? Thinking about the consequence. If I do this, I'm going to get that. Right? I just want to make sure I ain't off track. Y'all with me? That's playing the consequences, right? Playing the tape back and looking at the consequences. If I was to do this, I'm going to get that. Don't do this, you're going to get that. If I smoke this, I'm going to get that. If I drink this, I'm going to get that. I'm going to end up in jail. That's playing the what? Playing the tape back. All right. But there was always the curious mental phenomenon that paralleled with our sound reasoning, where inevitably ran some insane, trivial excuse for taking the first drink. So what they're really saying, I didn't read it properly. All right. It says that, but there was always a mental phenomenon that paralleled with our sound reasoning. So what they're saying is that we got this playing the tape back, this sound reasoning. It makes sense to play it back, right? Because we don't know about the obsession. So this sound reasoning, if I do this, I get that. So let's just say sound reasoning. All right, playing the tape back. Then we got this mental obsession or phenomenon that go parallel with it, right? There's two things going on at one time. There's mental obsession that parallels it. There's two things going on. There's sound reasoning going on, and then what? That mental twist is going on too. They're running parallel. Y'all see that in the book? Our sound reasoning failed to hold us in check. This one right here didn't hold us. The insane ideal won out. So what they're saying is, when you playing the tape back, the obsession is going right with it. At the same time. And they're going to jump up there and X this one out. It's going to beat it every time. Every time. Now think about this. If you really know the disease of addiction for yourself, you know you got the craving. You know you got a physical allergy. You don't need to play no tape. I can't drink, period. That's it. It's going to trigger the formula. Don't need no tape. And if you know why you don't need it, because the obsession going to win out anyway. This is textbook. It's not talking out the side of your neck. This is textbook. Say the mental obsession, the mental phenomenon going to always win out. Next day, we ask ourselves, in all earnestness and sincerity, how could it have happened? First of all, the mental obsession has no reason to even tell you about the physical allergy. It don't want to tell you that. It ain't gonna tell you that, look, while you playing the tape back, you know you got a physical allergy. If you you know, you ain't gonna be able to use because you put it in. It ain't gonna do that. That's not the nature of it. It's only got one nature, to get you to use, not to stop you from using. So I kind of suggest you kind of learn the textbook style. Get the disease in you. Don't worry about playing no tape back. That's textbook. All right. Do the next one.
In some circumstances, we have gone out deliberately to get drunk, feeling ourselves justified by nervousness, anger, worry, depression, jealousy, or the like. But even in this type of beginning, we are obligated to admit that our justification for a spree was insanely insufficient in the light of what always happened. We now see that when we began to drink deliberately instead of casually, there was little serious or effective thought during the period of premeditation of what the terrific consequences might be.
All right. We have, this is serious, inside of every person on earth, really, but inside of us, we got this built-in barometer, like a thermometer. You know what I'm talking about? Where I got mercury in it? You know, like a thermometer? We got a built-in thermometer, barometer. Each and every last one of us have it. And they got different levels. Like cross marks. Everybody's different. Everybody's different. Okay? It kind of goes like this. In some circumstances, we have gone out deliberately to get drunk, feeling ourselves justified by nervousness, anger, worry, depression, jealousy, or the like. Let's talk. Those are like the lower emotions.
Emotional barometer.
Right. This is the emotional barometer. All right. Emotional. Remember I told y'all that I interact with the class because I wouldn't even said that word. But it's that's what it is, an emotional barometer. I got friends who always worry or always depressed about something. Now, I used to be like that. I pray to God every day that I feel wonderful and I feel in peace. Now, I get out of whack, but it might be once or twice a year. It ain't going to be no every day. And when I get out, I try my best to zoom and start going climbing back up to the top emotions, where they vibrate a little faster than them slow ones. I just threw that in. But the bottom line is I know people who enjoy being worried. Misery love company. Who enjoy being depressed. I had someone today came up to me and told me they don't feel good, a customer. That's why I be real leery about who I be talking to. You know, when you work in the public. They told me that they feel depressed. Right there, red flag come up. Teet. Don't go there, Robert. Because I don't want to feel that. You know what I'm saying? I want to stay happy. But I got a good ear. And I'm trying to be nice and cordial. So I listen. They told me that their cousin, friend, just bought a house, had the house 6 months, and lost their job, and she feel depressed. How you gonna feel depressed? What that got to do with you? That's too far for depression, this track. You just wanted to have an excuse to be what you want to be, depressed. Because that's in plain insane. That's too far out for me to feel that one. That makes sense? That's way too far out. I hear people all the time, all kind of insane stuff. But it is, those are real feelings. They are real emotion. But y'all know, those are our fuming ones. Those the one that get us. If we stay on them low emotions, that's the fire. That's the gasoline to use. That keep your tank full for using. Go slip down and state of shame and embarrassed and upset and depressed and worried and anger. Those are key signs for using. Show you how it kind of works. Then I'm going to read it. Let's say everybody going to understand this. Let's just go back a few years when you sitting at home with your significant other. We all grown. Whether it's wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, mama, daddy, it don't matter. You sitting at home, you got some money in your pocket. You're supposed to be waiting on dinner, supposed to be cooking. Kids or whatever, you know, it's supposed to be a nice, quiet evening at home. You sitting down. The patting. Your feet. Now, at first you were just sitting there calm. All of a sudden, a pot rattled too high. You know, some clink, 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 clink. It start coming up. You want to watch a new or football or sport. She want to watch Lifetime. Oh. Here we go. There you go, going up. Mama hollering and talking about something.